Hey everyone, how's it going? Azrin here, owner of the Calgary Language Nerds, and welcome to today's Learn Gujarati with me podcast episode and, of course, YouTube video. I have some private students who I teach, and they could benefit tremendously from having some flashcards to review vocabulary. At the end of the day, flashcards are not my favorite method to learn a language or practice a language. But nevertheless, they do have a time and a place for a certain type of learner. And some of the language learners that I'm personally working with now actually could benefit from using some flashcards. After I made this flashcard deck here, I thought to myself, it would be useful if I made this flashcard deck public for any Gujarati learner. And so here we have a flashcard deck with 39 common Gujarati verbs, specifically for beginners. If you want to access this deck or use this deck yourself, go to the episode description box and you will find a link to this exact flashcard set. Let's go through it together here in the video and yeah, let's begin. So to drive, chalavu, chalavu. Now you'll notice in the spelling of chalavu, you'll notice that there are two V's, right? Over here and over here. So in chalavu, there are some verbs in Gujarati that have a double V, but you don't actually pronounce the double V. So we still pronounce it like chalavu. We don't, when we're just talking, we don't pronounce it chalavavu. We don't pronounce two V's, but it's written with two V's. So to drive, chalavu. Chalavu can also be used for other also has other meanings as well. But we'll leave that aside for today. A really easy one for drive is chalavu. To walk, chalvu, chalvu. To run, dorvu, dorvu. A couple things on pronunciation of dorvu. You'll notice I've written a capital D. Whenever I personally write a capital D, it means that it's interdental. It's the D that's between your teeth. So you bite your tongue for the first D, da 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 da. So do, that's the first syllable, do. This lowercase d is a regular D, like almost like in English. Doravu, dorvu, dorvu. One more thing pointing out about the da letter or the little d, the lowercase d in Gujarati. This da letter, when it's in the middle of a word or at the end of a word, it's pronounced very gently. Frequently, it's pronounced very gently. So we don't pronounce this word here. Dodvu is not dodvu. Doduchu. No, 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 no. It's dorvu. Dorvu, doravu, dorvu. For people, if you want the 201 explanation, for those of you that have a little bit of a base in the Gujarati language, the letter da, when it's in the middle of a word, or if it's at the very end of a word, is pronounced the same way, or pretty much the same way, as ara. I usually write this as capital L for those of you who aren't learning the Gujarati script. So da in the middle of a word or the end of a word is pronounced pretty much the same way often as the ara sound. So dorvu is pretty much the same. It's pronounced the same way as dorvu, like this. Dorvu doesn't mean anything, but it's what this ara sound, but it's pronounced, it's the same thing. It's pronounced that way. In fact, if we go 301, if we go even more advanced, one of the most fascinating things that I personally have experienced in Gujarati with Gujarati people is when we're texting each other and we have a word like dorvu, for example, right? Dorvu, like this. There we go. Many people, because this da sound is pronounced pretty much the same in the middle of a word or end of a word as the ara sound, da and ara, da becomes ara in the middle of a word or end of a word. Because that happens, many native speakers will actually write words like dorvu. They'll actually write it with an L. They'll actually spell it that way because it sounds that way. It really does sound that way. Okay, so to run, dorvu. To eat, kavu. Kavu. To drink, pivu. Pivu. To swim, tarvu. Tarvu. Notice the capital T for those of you who aren't learning the Gujarati script. This capital T is an interdental T, so we bite our tongue. Ta 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 tarvu. Tarvu. To fly, urvu. Now again, you'll notice this duh in the middle of a word. It's going to be pronounced more like an ura, like that funny little L sound that Gujarati has. Urvu. Urvu. It's usually not udvu. It's not udvu. I'm not going to say uduchu. I mean, I guess you could technically, but more often than not, it's much more lighter. It's much more just relaxed. Urvu. Urvu. Oh, what's going on here? We don't want to do that. Not now. All right. To study, bhanavu. Bhanavu. You'll notice the capital N for those of you who aren't learning the script. Capital N, that's where we like flip our tongue upside down. I have a whole video on that. We flip our tongue upside down and pronounce N with an upside down tongue. So bhanavu. Bhanavu. We like flick our tongue a lot in our mouth. Bhanavu. That's to study, or rather, yeah, to study. To learn, shikvu. Shikvu. I remember that shikvu is often pronounced sikvu with an S sound instead of sh. So shikvu or sikvu, both pronunciations are correct. To write, lakvu. Lakvu. To read, vanchvu. Vanchvu. To cook, randvu. Randvu. This capital DH in the middle is a dha sound, so we bite our tongue on that. Randhavu. Randvu. To cut, kapvu. To speak, bolvu. To listen, sambharvu. Sambharvu. This capital L is the funky little L that Gujarati has, where you flick your tongue in your mouth. You flip your tongue upside down, flip it upside down, point the tip of your tongue towards your throat. So you should feel like the bottom of your tongue touching the roof of your mouth. And sambharvu. Sambharvu. That's to listen. To open, kholvu. Kholvu. To close, band karvu. Band karvu. This dha again is the interdental dha, so we bite our tongue. Band karvu. We have a lot of verbs in Gujarati. I haven't put that many in this deck on purpose, but we have a lot of verbs in Gujarati where you mix an adjective with karvu. So band means closed. So band karvu is to like do closing, something like that. Sleep, we have two options, ungvu or suvu. Both are correct. Ungvu, suvu. Wake up, utvu. Utvu. To pull, kenchvu. Kenchvu. To do, karvu. Karvu. To go, javu, or some people might say javu. Javu, javu, both are okay. To give, apvu. Apvu. To take, levu. Levu. To play, ramvu. Ramvu. To come, it's written rather, avavu. But again, as I said in the beginning of the video, when we have verbs that have a double va sound, we actually don't pronounce the first one. So it's still pronounced avu. Avu. To see, jovu. Jovu can also be used for watch. Kind of the same, pretty much. Pretty much the same. To sit, besvu. Besvu. To laugh or smile, same verb for both. Hasvu. Hasvu. To ask, uchvu. Uchvu. To dance, nachvu. Nachvu. To sing, gavu. Gavu. To tie, bandvu. Bandhvu. Again, notice the capital DH I've written here. So we bite our tongue for that. Bandhvu. To break, torvu. Torvu. Again, notice we have a duh in the middle of a word. So when we have that duh, we do pronounce it quite quickly and lightly. Torvu. Not quite tordvu. This torvu, much lighter. To wash, dhovu. Again, with an interdental duh. So we bite our tongue for that DH sound. Dhovu. To think, vicharvu. Vicharvu. If you want to say, there's a whole video. I think I have a video on this on my YouTube channel. Vicharvu is like literally to think, like you're using your brain to think. We don't use this so much for expressing opinions. When we express an opinion on something, we actually use the verb to feel or perceive, and that's lagvu. Lagvu. As a quick little mini crash course, to say I think, we say mane lage che, which means like, it seems to me, or oops, mane lage che ke. It seems to me that. That's how we say I think in the context of sharing your opinion. Mane lage che ke, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So again, this flashcard deck, I've put the link in the episode description box below. So you can use this, you can study it. You're more than welcome to do so. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you the best of luck on your Gujarati learning journey. By the way, if you're watching this video right now, I am offering a 2-week, 2 weeks of free private lessons. If you want to try my guaranteed fluency program, on my website here, we just go here. There's a video right at the very top of my website, and I talk more about my guaranteed fluency program, what to expect, how it all works, my teaching methodology, so on and so forth. So just go to my website, watch this video. There's a written version at the bottom too, in case you prefer to read. There's a Google form right here. If you are interested in claiming this 2 weeks of free classes, just make sure you write in the additional comment section, 2 weeks free. And yeah, that's that. Have a wonderful day. See you soon. Bye. Aujo.